Hi, everyone, and welcome back. In today's session, we're going to be switching it up a little bit. We will be covering the topic of physical activity, but more specifically, my favorite thing to do, and that is running. I like to consider myself an avid professional, okay, not professional, runner. And to cover this topic with me today, I have two special guests, and they are Nigel Bellamy from Bafasports and Krystel Davidson from Bafasports as well. So, welcome both of you.
Pleasure to be here.
So, to get started, can you introduce yourself? Maybe say a little bit about how long you have been running for and what inspired you to start your running journey.
Okay, well, I'm Nigel Bellamy. I'm CEO of Bafasports, founder. I've been running for 15, 16 years, more years than I can count. It's a really funny story how I first got involved. I had a friend of mine. He was very interested in joining a club, for all the wrong reasons, and he dragged me along with him. And he made like a month or two and dropped out, and I just stuck with it. I've been there ever since. I won like rookie of the year for the first year I was with the club, and I've never left. So here I am.
Krystel, what about you? How long have you been running for, and what inspired your running journey?
I have been running over the past 10 years. I started and stopped. So that was that is part of my journey. But what inspired me to start running after I had my second baby, I was weighing almost 210 pounds.
Okay.
And to lose weight, well, go up on the internet, okay, find out, okay, running's a good way to lose weight. Because I couldn't join the gym with the baby with me because he was like a month old, sorry. So I started running around Nelson Mandela Park every day and do like 4 to 6 laps.
Wow.
When I be when I should and run. And I lost about a good 60 pounds first, and then I joined the gym. So that was my first step in running, my running journey.
That's really amazing. So since we are all runners here, I'm just gonna categorize myself as a runner too. For those persons, actually, Nigel, I'm not sure if you would say this, but do you think that recently there has been like a higher uptake in terms of persons who've been interested with running?
Absolutely. So when we first got involved in running, it was a bit of a niche thing in Trinidad. It wasn't as popular as it is now. There's certainly been a massive uptrend, a massive uptick in people who are coming out to participate in events. We host events for pretty much every weekend, and they've been selling out. We have 2 events sold out a month in advance. It's insane to think of, and that wasn't the case 5-10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot more people have been tuned into running as a hobby, a pastime, as Krystel indicated, a way to lose weight or for whatever reason. One of the things I think I credit the uptick to is the medals. The medals have gotten quite dramatic and quite fantastic now. A lot of people blame us for that, but it's really been driving a lot of interest. People who you may not have originally thought to be runners or would want to be runners are now seeing themselves lining up every weekend at a 5K somewhere to earn one of these magnificent medals. So that's probably a part of it, but certainly yes, I would say there's been a massive uptick.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of persons on social media or even like friends and colleagues would say, I want to try running. How do I start? So a lot of persons, the interest is there, it's being generated. So persons now want to know, how do I go from not running at all to actually running my first 5K? Do you think it's possible? How long do you think it would take for someone to go from not running to actually being able to finish a 5K?
Good question. So it's a popular concept, as you were saying before, couch to 5K, right? That's a very popular concept. A lot of people get into the world of running, starting off from the couch. They were not athlete before. They were at track in school. They weren't in the stadium. But it just caught their interest, and they figured, okay, let me try this hobby, and we get out there and start a run. And a couch to 5K is a very popular mechanism to get going. And to answer the question, so I'll kind of flip on my coach hat to answer that question. We would typically recommend minimum of 8 weeks of training before you get out there and have a crack at the 5K distance. And really, and I use the term there to really give it a good effort, because I mean, you could walk a 5K.
Correct.
So you could get out there and do it much sooner than that. Let's say in about 4 weeks you could walk the distance. But to give it a solid effort where you feel like you've put out some energy, you've really given it a good go, and you want to see what time you would achieve. 8 weeks is a recommended time for you to train and get out there and not get injured, and be able to manage your heart rate and your breathing and all of that, you know. So I'm giving you a little more of a scientific response on that one, but yeah, 8 weeks.
So
is
8 weeks
what I would
ideally.
recommend, yes.
And what are some tips for beginners, you know, now learning to run? What do they need to be aware of or pay attention to so that they don't, you know, probably like injure, hurt themselves?
Yeah, so again,
Do they need to have, you know, the most expensive running shoes, for example?
might hurt. So, I mean, we have a lot of stories in our own camp with people coming up with $250 shoes, you know. And we're just weekend warriors, not Olympics or anything. But you know, certainly there are things that can help your journey. We like to say in our circles too that we would like people to enjoy running. It shouldn't be this thing that you suffer through and you endure, and there's some people who bring that energy to it. They're proud to show they have bloody shoes when they're done. They're proud to have all their ties and strings, everything's smashed to bits. But that's not how we would want to approach it. We want you to enjoy the process and to do it routinely and do it frequently, right? So that's a big part of it. Getting the gear right helps. So one of the go-to things we recommend, you know, some women, let me not label it, but some women want to look neat. They want the shoes to look as cute as possible. In the world of running, we go the opposite way. We want your shoe to be a little bigger. We want you to go a size above, give you a little more room by the toes, prevent blackened toenails, prevent getting the blisters and bladders and all that sort of stuff. You know, we want to be careful with that. These shoes generally recommend very cushioned shoes. So in our world, we have multiple 4 or 5 different type of shoes that you'd use. But if you're just starting, even the couch, the 5K space, beginners, you want to get one with a lot of cushion, right? So you don't want to try anything minimalist. You don't want to try carbon plate. You don't want to get too fancy. You don't want spikes. You just want a nice soft landing when you get out there. So shoes with a bit of a thick sole is what I would see to go for. I mean, there are lots of endless brands to pick from. Get fitted is a common thing they say. Now in Trinidad, it's so hard to do. Not many of the shoe stores here will really get you fitted properly. I would be lean towards Generation. They're probably the most likely to help you with that. But you want to go and try it on, walk around the store, take a jog around. I do it and people laugh and I'll jog around.
No, I do that as well.
So I make sure it's really sitting comfortably. So that's important. Some good socks. Again, people laugh all the time.
What type of socks? Because personally, I haven't like delved into that aspect of it. Also, just before we move on, to touch on what you said, the sizing of the shoes, I don't think a lot of persons know that. I know persons who go and buy, you know, some of the expensive running shoes, but they weren't aware that, you know, it needs to be bigger. It can't be fitting exact. So for me, my running shoes is actually a size and a half bigger. Now, the socks, I've never actually paid attention to that. So I'm intrigued to know what you're going to say in terms of socks.
Yeah, so I would say, you know, moisture wicking is one of the go-to traits you look for. I mean, if you go up on again, if you go to some of the sports stores here, if you go online and you search for good running socks, he'll give you tons to pick from. They do make a little difference, and again, it prevents the blisters and the bladders, and so it's kind of the main thing you look for, especially as you go longer in distance. 5K, you can kind of get away with most anything. Even our cotton socks might get away with 5K, but when you go up in distance, it becomes far more important, right? So that's why you probably wouldn't have heard much about it. And for most people do 5Ks in Trinidad, by far, right? That's the number one distance. But yeah, certainly want to look at that. Again, everybody knows the dry fit for the shirts, the tops, the vests. You would want to do dry fit, ideally. Pants don't really get much love. People just kind of wear whatever, you know. But for me, again, for 5Ks, you could get away with murder. Longer distances, you could get pants that would be causing chafing and cause you to get sores and so on in your inner thighs. So you kind of want to watch what pants you get good pants for running for that purpose. Again, you will find them online. You'll find them in the sports stores here. I like to say for our climate, for the sun, you want to I call it armor. You want your cap on, you want to have a nice shades on, things like that to consider if you're going out there and you're getting a lot of sun exposure and UV exposure. You want to make sure you have some armor on. for the sun. So that's what I would say as a beginner. Things to consider. I know people say running is the cheapest sport.
But is it really?
but,
Is it
yeah,
really?
time you add all those things up, it starts to get a bit of a spend. The last but not least, something to track your distance. So if you're on a budget, you can get away with your smartphone, put it in a little belt, put it in a little armband. But if you have a little more money to play with, I would strongly recommend the sports watch, a GPS watch, a Garmin or so. Those make all the world difference in tracking your stats, so you know how your training is going, if you want to work towards the 5K and even distances beyond.
Great tips, Nigel. So we know running or any sort of physical activity, there's a physical component of it. You know, your body physically feels it immediately. Something that we don't pay attention to, there's a mental aspect as well. And with running, you know, you have to keep yourself motivated. There's something that you need to do for that mental aspect. Krystel, what do you do to motivate you to keep going the distance? Or what do you do? Do you listen to a podcast? Do you listen to music? Do you just, you know, listen to nature while you're running? What do you do to help motivate yourself? Or if you need motivation at all?
I too like to listen to music while I run because I use that time as my me time. So when I drop the kids to school, I say, right, it's my little break here, and just put on my music and I run. Sometimes I might have an entire playlist with about 12 songs, and I say, right, complete these 12 songs and I'll finish, because most songs are like 4 minutes or 5 minutes. Well, the songs I listen to, the music I listen to, so say, okay, but I don't want to inspire inspiration, or I may listen to something productive. So I might listen to different different podcasts as well, or I might just
Run without
run without anything, yeah, according to
Kudos
where
to you.
I am. Like around the savannah, even though there's a lot of traffic, there is a time where it's just quiet. So just up to last week, I was running around the savannah and I literally took off my music and I recorded it only to hear the sound of the birds. These macaws making noise by the savannah. It was so relaxing.
Yeah.
So that was my motivation on Instagram. Hey, you want to come and get out of the house and take a walk or run? And you just hearing the birds making noise, you hear the lions roaring. It was really like a shift in your mental. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
No, I
It's
do.
like a stress reliever
It's
as well,
therapeutic.
yes. So.
Running is therapeutic.
Mhm.
Agreed. Nigel, you mentioned 8 weeks as that sort of, you know, ideal amount of time for someone to reach from couch to 5K. How often each week should they be running? Is it every day? Should they be running twice for the week? How much should they be running? And what does that look like? Like a general training plan? Like, do they just start off trying to make that 5K distance immediately, or is it like a gradual build-up?
A good question. So a gradual build-up is what we would go for sure. I mean, you can start off with about 3 days per week. I think it's a nice, safe place to be, and you can start off with walking to begin with. So that first week could just be go out there and do some walks. You're not even running on the first week, and then you build up a little bit. So maybe you walk for half of the bit, and then you jog the other end of it, and then you start to jog a little more and walk a little bit less, and slowly but surely by 4 weeks in, you're probably doing more jogging than anything else, and then you slowly, as you get into the competence of being able to complete the distance, you know, start to think about the speed. So you sort of go a little faster now, and then you slow down a little bit, and you go a little faster, but all the way you're jogging this time. So by the time you get to 8 weeks, you should be very comfortably thinking, I can go out there and complete this. There's not a question about if I can do 5 kilometers. I can finish it, even if I were to jog very, very slowly. Now I'm just thinking about how can I keep my pace going for this entire distance. And one of the things we teach is to do negative splits. So that means you actually want to start off a little faster. Start off a little slower.
Right.
And you get a little faster each mile as you go in. Because the 5K in Trinidad, we work in miles. So it's 3.1 miles. So we'd want to get out there in the first mile. Let's say you're a real beginner, maybe aim for 11 minutes for the first mile. And then by mile 2, you probably want to get it done in 10 minutes and 30 seconds. And then for the last mile, you probably want to get in there 10 minutes.
Prince.
So you want to push it a little bit, you know, just to go a little faster. And that'll be like the perfect execution. So you'd have worked your way up again the first week or two, just walking. Week 3 and 4, you start to get some jogs in, and you walk a little bit in between. So you sort of kind of get yourself up there. By week 6, you should be able to jog the whole distance, slowly. And then week 7, you put a little more pace into it. Week 8, a little more pace into it. So by the time you get to the starting line, you're going to try to see, let me see what time I can do. If I can make it 30 minutes, if I can make it 35 minutes. And that's a nice place to be.
Ambitious.
Yeah. It's not that ambitious. That's a safe target for most people. Like if the average starts 35 minutes for a 5K, you're doing okay. You don't need to try to make 20 minutes or something Herculean like that. As your goal, you can have a very modest goal, 35 minutes for the average person.
You mentioned starting off really slow in the beginning, and I know for me personally, when you're training for like longer distances, they say the beginning should be like your pace should be such that you can have a conversation with the person if you're running with somebody. Is it the same for the 5K for that first mile, or is it different?
So good question. That comes up a lot, conversational piece, right? It's meant to sort of indicate that your heart is really heart rate they're looking at, right? So you want to make sure your heart rate is not going too wild, so you can manage. A 5K is a interesting distance. So in the world, again, if I put it on my coach hat now, in the world of athletics, the 5K is almost an aerobic event. It's almost you going, 100% almost to do that distance, right? It's just at the tail end where middle distance ends and long distance begins.
Right.
So I may not say you should be trying to do that at conversational pace, right? That's pretty. But if you're saying couch to 5K, right, it's beginners.
Like you now start.
Beginners, right?
Yeah.
So beginners, then okay. Beginners, couch to 5. You can conversational pace it, right?
Other than that, it should not be only for the longer distances.
Yeah, and not even. So I would, if you after you achieve your goal of couch to 5K, I would like to see you try to push and not be at conversational pace. You should be huffing and puffing a bit as you go. Right? That's what I would like to see, but that's just the coach in me.
Another important aspect for running, and I don't think, some of us, we don't pay attention to it, and it's what you should do before and after. And I'm speaking about warming up and cooling down. How important is that when you're training for a 5K and when you're actually going for a race day? Do you warm up? Do you cool down? Or is that just for, you athletes to do when you're running, half marathon and full marathon distances?
Again, very good question. So it's very important. Again, and the reason again is management of injuries, right? So you want to have and I use the word loosely, the athlete, because one of the things we learned very early in Bafa's journey is most of our participants do not consider themselves to be athletes. We learned that very, very early on. But yes, if you want the athlete to be prepared for the effort to come, so you want them to warm up to get their heart rate up and make sure their muscles are ready before you just throw them into this sprint off into some of the horn activity. So that's important. And warm up could be dynamic activations. You don't need to do maybe a big half an hour stuff. Maybe 10 minutes. You get out there, do some leg raises. You do a couple of skips. Just to get the blood flowing and get the heart rate up and prepared for the activity to come. Likewise, when you finish the activity, you don't want to just return to a sudden stop and then the heart rate is there and you're going at a rate and you might sit down and then you might faint and collapse. Like that happens a lot. We have medics at the finish line for the races because of that, and then you always see it happening. So you want to give people all the time to cool down after the event. Do a light activity. Again, nothing too heavy. Most people, they'll walk for about 8-10 minutes afterwards is best, and then you can sit down and then you could relax yourself after that. So it is important. Again, we do this all the time, so we see the negative effects if you don't. Where we would like to we want people to enjoy the running journey. And again, if you can get these tips out to as many people as possible, that would be great. So I wish you success with your podcast.
Thank you. So when you're trying something new and you like it, you get super excited and you just want to keep going, you want to keep pushing. Krystel, when you now started your running journey, did you experience this, like that excitement, that need to push your boundaries and just keep going, and then eventually you experience some sort of burnout, or in worst case scenarios you also get injured? Is that something you've experienced, the burnout or the injury?
I experienced both in some way or the other, but because I am a mother, I have 3 kids, so the burnout would have been like managing your time and everything, and then you still want to run. It is in your heart to do it. However, life, and if you understand.
Yes, definitely.
But then getting back into the groove now, and then you're realizing your body change as you get older. So for me, I started experiencing a little pain in my left knee. So that would have caused me to slow down on the distance I want to go and how fast I want to go. But I more look at my time. I will look at, okay, how fast? I will look at, okay, I'll finish this by this time.
Right.
So I did experience that.
Nigel, so that brings me to the question, how do we, try to hold back our excitement and minimize that burnout or injury? Or should we just keep going until,
You should. Good question. So that's my challenge all the time. I have to get the athletes to rein their enthusiasm and really take their time with the process. You do get injured, you do get the burnout, as you mentioned there. It's very intense. It's a lot of work on the human body to run. You have to carry your weight as well. It's not like you're riding a bike or you're swimming. You are carrying your weight all the way through. So you don't want to overexpose the body to that level of impact. You want to give it time to recover. When it has to catch up and realize, oh, I guess we're running now. And it needs to start to make some adjustments and start to recruit some different fibers and build some different muscles. And it needs time to do that. It needs rest to do that. So we always try to encourage them, again, which is why I said 3 days of the week. So you don't do more than that, because you want to give the body some time to recover in between the runs. And then even during what we use something called periodization for training the athletes. So there are 3 seasons within that in our world, and you have a break, a 2 to 3 week transition period between those seasons where you focus on different things in each season, right? So one might be speed, one might be strength, one might be base building, which is just getting long miles in and building your cardiovascular base and your aerobic base, as they call it. That transition period is so important to give the body a time to recover and to catch up with the extra load you've been placing the athlete under. It's always a struggle to get them to curb the enthusiasm.
Right.
We keep preaching to them the benefits of it and that you won't lose all your fitness. Don't feel you're going to suddenly turn into a sloth after resting for 2-3 weeks. But they all keep going. They all keep going to races. They keep pushing. They keep training through this thing. And then, as you indicated, injury comes. Injury could sideline you for a long time. So it's a real struggle. It's a good. I probably don't have the answer for it.
I guess you have to know yourself too, and know your limits too.
Knowing your limits.
And when to stop.
I don't know.
Because sometimes your body really, because I think my body was telling me, okay, you need to take it easy, but I just want to accomplish this thing because I have my goal, my little fitness goal,
So you keep pushing.
You have to keep, sometimes you do have to listen to your body as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. There's also so much hype right now, as I said, with running that I've been seeing. From couch to 5K, would you recommend fueling in terms of for longer distances? We may do endurance gels and those things. There's so much hype now with these products. Would you also recommend those same things for those training for 5K distances? Or what should they do now in terms of fueling?
So you are spot on with the questions. You use AI to get these questions.
Nigel, you're forgetting that I'm a runner.
That's true. No, very good question. So the consumption of gels is a very hot topic in the world of distance running, and it does make a tremendous difference.
I've seen it.
Yeah, it's a game changer. So it's something that our club endorses as well for the definitely 10Ks, half marathons, without a doubt, right? Without a shadow of a doubt. The 5K distance is one that you could get away with maybe not that much supplementation, because again, it's a very quick event. It's over for the top athletes in the country, is over in 15 minutes before you have time to even digest anything.
Right.
So it's not as critical of a factor for them. For the couch to 5K person, you're looking at 30 minutes, 40 minutes, right? 45. You could get away with one. So one. And again, you probably want to take that before the race, because it's not going to have enough time in the race for to do much. You're going to want to probably take it 15-20 minutes before. So if you ask me, I would say yes, take one. There are gels a little more tuned towards high performance. So there are different types of gels, of course, and you may want to consider one of those. Again, you want to probably check in with your doctors and make sure before you get on these things There are some with caffeine in them, which would probably help enhance the performance in the shorter distance, but it has caffeine in it. So you have to be a little mindful of your ticker, how your heart is, and all that with that. But to answer the question, yes, it will make a difference. Again, just be mindful of using it.
But if let's say you don't want to take the gels, what are some alternatives that persons can do? I know sometimes, you give fruit and those things before a race. Is that advised, or you don't really need to pay attention to it for a 5K?
Couch the 5K again. You kind of get away with murder, right? You can kind of get away without those things. For me, my go-to, Nescafe is gonna love this. I'll probably just have a cup of coffee before I go there and give it a crack. That'll be like my thing. And again, if I'm going to really push for a PB or push for a real solid effort, I will probably take one of the gels with the caffeine. And that's where I would go. If you couch the 5K level, you can get away with a cup. You could probably have a slice of bread, toast bread with peanut butter is another go-to. One banana, a little potassium in there, a little magnesium in there. You can kind of get away with those things. I wouldn't be too worried about it at the couch to 5K level. I really wouldn't be too worried about it.
So you don't necessarily need that much prep before. Anything we should be concerned about for after the race?
Yeah. So in our world, again, we would recommend you rush to like a protein shake if you could after the race to help replenish. That's probably what you want to go to. Aside from that, again, don't stress yourself about it too much. Really getting out there and getting the activity done is probably the most important thing at this level. And building up yourself to be able to sustain the effort of a 5K. Once you get into it and now it becomes a thing you do and you're going to hammer home, yes, you could get a little more dialed into your nutrition, a little more dialed into your diet. Stay away from some of the usual bad actors. You don't want to be getting those in your system. You want to lower your weight. That improves your performance. Again, once you start to look at performance, you start to see why you want to manage your weight, manage your intake of bad calories. But again, if you couch the 5K level, that's all that conversation is a little bit premature.
So let's say they get excited, they listen to all your advice and they hit that first 5K and they get so excited, they want to keep on running. What should be like their next goal, or what would you advise them to go for next?
Well, I would say for me, the best advice is probably to join a running club. Yeah, I think that's really what kept me in the game. I certainly would not have been in running if not for the club. Big up to Coach Derek. They really teach you and they show you all the ropes, all the guidance, everything I've known and I've accomplished, and all the trophies and so on I've won is thanks to the club and the coaching. Having that tribe around you,
right?
Speaking the same language, excited about the upcoming races, expecting new medal coming up, and that energy is palpable. I would say definitely that'd be my go-to tip. And you would get a lot of this advice that I'm giving here. You would get a lot of that within the circles of the club too. They would be happy to share. They always make the joke about you always know somebody who ran a marathon because they're gonna tell you. Like they're gonna tell you. You'll be.
I want to be one of those persons.
You could be. We have a marathon in Trinidad, so you could be. And I would say on that note too, it's really the best gift you can give to yourself.
Yes.
The health and wellness journey that running is. You get so many benefits with your cardiovascular health being one of the primary ones. Stress relief, the endurance you build from it enhances your mood, which kind of feeds into the stress bit, right? And it helps you with the NCDs, so it helps you fight diabetes, some cancers, stroke. Running does so much for your health. I think it's a gift to yourself and then to your family and to your loved ones, those around you. You're so much more capable. You can do so much more. So that'll probably be what I'll leave you with on that note.
So find a community.
And you can get your family involved as well. Because now we have 1Ks for kids as well.
That's true.
So
You can have your kids and be happy, unless they have the period.
Yes, the period. You can bring your dogs and all.
As well.
So something for everybody.
Everybody, yes.
So if they get ambitious, join a running club, find your tribe, and then maybe you can even try to hit those longer distances if you think, endurance running is something that you want to get into.
Yes.
I started off with 5Ks as well. And now, what is your longest distance, Krystel?
My longest would have been 8K. I don't think I've ever done a marathon.
Do you have any short-term and long-term goals for yourself with running?
With running, my long-term goal is actually to really so I want to go into coaching track and field. Something that
Papa.
Nigel didn't.
Papa.
So just last week that's one of my goals. I actually reached out to with part of TTOC and with UTT as well. They have a coaching program, so that's one of my long-term goals.
That's really
So-
great.
So it's something that I enjoyed so much. Like my children, they are running now with part of the club, and they have the youth section, the Peace and Performance
Performance.
Factory. You can check it out. But yeah, that's one of my long-term goals. My short-term goal, you ask me,
Yes, your short-term running goal.
to get this knee up and running.
Soon. Patience.
But the thing is, I like to challenge myself, so I have been going every day, trying to do not as fast and not as much pressure on the knee, but it's my short term. It's just that I have that to recover. But hey, I have to keep this thing working. Yes.
Okay,
yes.
great. Nigel, well, I know you're an avid runner. What was your longest distance that you covered?
So I did a 27-mile run. That was the longest I've ever done. It was an attempt at an ultra marathon. One of my charms, they call her, she tried to drag me into this ultra marathon world, but I couldn't make. She completed it 35 miles. I was like 27, I'm done. But I've done the marathon has been, of course, the mark just before that. In terms of short-term goal in the past, my short-term goal was the elite time trial for our club. So to qualify to be an elite in our club, you had to run 2 miles in 12 minutes or less. So I've been chasing that goal for maybe 7 years. I've been trying to crack it, and I eventually did a couple of years back. So that was my proudest moment in athletics.
That's amazing.
I was quite impressed with myself after that. So thanks to Coach Derek again, big up.
So you heard it yourselves from the experts in the field, and once you hit that 5K, as I said, and you want to go longer distances, how can they? You did not even speak about it, in terms of what can they look forward to, and how can they now sign up and look for all these different races now that they're going to be avid runners themselves. They're not just going to do one 5K and stop, they're probably going to do quite a few.
Okay, so now let's look at that. So we do have one of the other hats we wear. We do have the midnight marathon. It's the Trinidad and Tobago marathons, 26.2 miles. There are multiple events leading up to it. So you have a 1K, you have a 5K, you have a 10K, you have a half marathon, and then you have the marathon. So we've already launched the dates for the 2026 edition. So those are coming up, and I was just telling Josanne, off camera, that the dates for the marathon, it will be in May. So you can start to work towards that, train towards that from now. I mean, start with your couch for 5K, but once you've got it under your belt and you get comfortable, you can think about some of the longer distances. We will have quite a few in store for you next year.
Okay, so thank you both for coming here today and for sharing on this topic that I am very passionate about. And I would have started off being one of those persons who went from couch to 5K, and now I can safely say that I've done the half marathon distance quite a few times. So whenever you set a goal for yourself and you achieve it, keep trying to push and create new goals all the time. My next goal, hopefully, fingers crossed, Nigel, is to complete the Trinidad and Tobago full marathon next year. So similarly, you can set goals for yourself. If running is something that you are interested in, just get off the couch and get started. So thank you both once again, and thank you for tuning in, and look out for our next episode. Bye.